As a young child, I always knew volunteer work was very important. And my mom had done several things, but I chose to work for the Red Cross. So when the war was declared, I was around 23, 24. I first worked for the Navy for almost 2 years. So I knew that 2 of my friends were already in the service. Judy was in the WACS, and Shirley was in the Red Cross. And I decided the WAC was not for me. I didn't want to take orders from anybody. But I definitely felt the Red Cross was for me. So I applied, knowing it wasn't that easy to get in, because they were very, very discerning. I must have had 2 or 3 interviews. I passed all my interviews, and they said, you qualify, and you will be informed, when your orientation begins. So after 2 weeks of training, they said we would be ready to go overseas. I was on the ship on my way to Europe, and orders were to go to London. It was actually in March of 45, very close to the end of the war. We finally got into the English Channel, because I knew pretty much where we were, but the waters were so dangerous, we couldn't get in. So finally they decided to go into Le Havre, which is a port in France. So I knew right away that we would be going up to Paris. We get to Paris, and they put us in this beautiful hotel called the Normandie. They asked for volunteers because they were now going into prisoner war camps, freeing all the Americans. Now I had seen all the pictures of these men in the Times and Life magazine where maybe they weighed 60 or 70 pounds. But when you see the prisoner in the magazine, there's no closeness. But I had never been in a room with 30 GIs lined up in beds. But the one observation that I made immediately, that it was a mixed population. They were white and they were black. And as you know, the army was segregated. I don't know if you realize that. But when you're sick, it makes no difference what color you are. You can be white, black, or yellow. And if you need blood, you're going to get blood from anybody. I was in Paris on May the 8th. So here I am in Paris on VE Day. All the lights came on for the first time. The Parisians were on the streets. You couldn't even get through. And I was celebrating like the war was over for the Europeans. After VE Day, why was I really staying in Paris? I'd rather get up to Germany where I could do more. So en route to Germany, a lot of the displaced persons, DP, who were prisoners or people who had been displaced, German citizens, all kinds of Europeans, would reach out their arm for food. They were hungry. Haben Sie some food? And I knew enough German to say, raus mit him, means get lost. So one day, this guy reached out his arm, and there I saw he was a prisoner, a Jewish prisoner, his number. And I thought, in that moment, my whole philosophy changed of human beings. We had been taught to hate the Germans. We're taught to hate. But how could I hate this man who I thought was a displaced German who turned out to be a Jew? the same human being, it doesn't matter where you're born, what your race is, or what your color is, or what religion you are. We're all human beings. So I was assigned to a club in Hamburg, Germany, and the GIs there, it was the 4th Armored Division, said you could pick any place you want for your club. So believe it or not, we chose a monastery that had become a club. So the gal that I was with, Polly, I was 27, she was 25. We set up the club. And any furniture you wanted, you just went into a German's home. Here, take this piano, take that brake front, take anything you want. I found it so hard to do that how do you take that from a family? And I started to get a very different picture of what war is all about. We worked 12 hours a day setting up the club, getting our flour and sugar for the donuts. And the guys were so appreciative of what we did. So there were many other experiences, but those is kind of the highlights. Because that was in 1945 and 46, but my memory is still very vivid.